Hello, everyone, and welcome to
WEEZCAST.
I'm your host, Aidan Morden, with co-host
Caleb Chassis.
and co-host
Stephen Prinler.
and special guest,
Spencer Higgins.
Today we're going to be listening to the Red album, which was released in 2008. Also, something interesting that I would like to point out before we go into this is that this is the first record, I believe, that Weezer released after Rivers got married. So I think we're going to see an interesting change here that may be noteworthy. So we're going to listen to the Red album on vinyl, and then we will be on a call with Spencer today because he lives a little far away. He's not with us in person, and we will share our thoughts. All right, everybody, we're back from listening to the Red album on vinyl. So we're going to get right into it, starting out with Troublemaker, track number 1. I'll start us off, and then we'll go Stephen, Caleb, and then Spencer. So to start off the album, it's a total shift from anything we've heard yet, but it still has that classic Weezer sound. I think a lot of it is due to, like, Rivers has just straight up pretty much just used a turbo distortion pedal his entire career. He really hasn't dabbled much in different effects and stuff. So it's still got that sound to it. It's an absolute bop. Goofy lyrics. I like that he talks smack about books because I don't like reading. And I did in the introduction, Spencer, I had mentioned that this is the first album from Weezer after Rivers got married. And I think with Troublemaker, he's all pumped up now that he's married and he's finally found what he's looking for, and he's getting a little freaky, a little weird. But I absolutely love Troublemaker. It's definitely my favorite opener to a Weezer album.
I also like Troublemaker. It's pretty much objectively a good song. The first thing I noticed about it when I first heard it, I think, was that the music sounds like very similar to The Good Life from Pinkerton. And I really like that song as well. So to me, it's like, do I want to be listening to this song or to the other song? And I'm actually partial to, surprisingly, the Pinkerton song. But this is still a great song. And it's really fun and it's rebellious. And I really like the way he says biatch. I always take note when he says words in a weird way. And sometimes I really like it and sometimes I really don't. So this is one of those times when I do. I still don't know why that is. But that's all I have to say.
Alright, so for Troublemaker, I think it's the best song on the album, of course. One of the best, but definitely when it comes to music-wise, I think it's one of the best. Guitar's amazing, drums amazing, love the vocals. I love the way how the picking in the bridge happens. And I found this lyric interesting, giving up and growing old and hoping that there's a God, which is very interesting for Rivers to say, especially since he hasn't taken that in consideration since, yeah.
It doesn't seem that way now. Spencer.
Well, you might want to pop some popcorn for each time I'm going to talk.
Duly noted.
My goodness. Well, for starters, not only with this song, but this album in general, it is my favorite album of all time. It tends to battle it out with Poodle Hat by Weird Al Yankovic, but if it wasn't for Weird Al Yankovic doing the song Skipper Dan from his Alpocalypse album in 2011, I would not have dipped my foot into the Weezer pond as much as I did. If I may, Aiden, yeah, Skipper Dan sounds a lot like a couple tracks from this album with maybe hints of Island in the Sun. And I'm sure you could dissect it even further than that yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But I listened to that and I went, oh, well, Weird Al does all these original songs that are meant to sound like other people. And I couldn't place my finger on what Skipper Dan was supposed to sound like. So I looked it up, discovered Pork and Beans by Weezer, which we'll get into in 2 tracks from now. But I thought to myself, okay, I love the message that they're going for on this. So I bought the album, listened to it front to back. And the very first time I listened to it all the way through, without sounding too arrogant, it sounded to me like Weezer had stalked me and followed me around for a while and then written an album about me. And I was like, what on earth? So that's just a little prelude into my experience with the album in its entirety, and then the specifics. So we're on track 1 here, Troublemaker. Yeah, the lyrics in the first, I'm going to say 5 to 6 songs of this album, they just feel like they're personal. Like they really do. So I've got, put me in a special school because I am such a fool. Well, when I was in 3rd grade, I had to go to special classes because I had problems paying attention, and I had to be put on Ritalin and all these stupid things that the school system was like, well, Spencer doesn't pay attention, so he needs special treatment when it comes to learning in school. So I immediately identify with the first 2 lines, and I go, oh yeah, the single book to teach me how to read. I'm with Aiden on that, because when I was a little kid, all I needed was my father or my mother to read me a Dr. Seuss book, and I had it memorized. I wasn't actually reading the words of the book. I was just recalling it from before. So I'm like, yeah, I don't need a stupid book to teach me how to read. I can just recite what I heard before. It goes on and on like that. Who needs stupid books? They are for petty crooks. The lessons in my dreams, I really connect with that. Turn off the TV because that's what others see. And movies are as bad as eating chocolate ice cream. That line right there, to me, is about like conformity, I think. And I can pause at any point, shut the heck up, and you guys can weigh in on your thoughts.
I'm listening.
As I feel like a Susie talks a lot over here. But yeah, that's something where I was like, that just screamed my identity to me. Because I'm like, growing up, people would watch all the same stuff on TV, American Idol, which I thought was stupid, and like all these different shows. And I'm like, who cares? Like, do your own thing, you know? And they only sicken me. Don't let me play football. I hate sports. So I'm like, anytime I play a sport, I end up in the hospital. And that's not a joke. That's legitimately what happens to me. So I've written off sports. So I like how he says he's going to sack the quarterback and jack the brother of the ball, because it's like, yeah, just get me out of here. I don't want to be partaking in this. Chorus alone, never been a faker. I identify with that in a huge way, because I hate being one of those people that's like, you know, you bump into somebody in the grocery store or whatever, and they're like, hey, how are you? And even if you're having a horrible day, you're like, oh, I'm great. How's it going? That's not me. If somebody's like, Spence, what's going on, man? I'm like, you know what? I'm actually having kind of a crappy day. You know, it's like, to me, that's not being fake. That's like, hey, I'm real 24/7, y'all. So that's another piece. Picked up my guitar. I'm sure Aiden identifies with that a lot more than I do. But what does this signify? Going to play some heavy metal riffs and you will die. That's a little violent for my taste, but hey, whatevs. The arts and crafts stuff is cool. I'm just skimming through the lyrics here. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm growing out my hair. I'm literally doing that now. And like, Aiden and I are beard bros. So it's like, you know, sponsored by Dr. Squatch, right, Aiden?
Heck yeah. Yeah, we're all actually, everybody on this podcast currently, and obviously you included as our guest today, is a Squatch man. So that's a good thing.
This is not sponsored.
But Dr. Squatch should give us money for this.
Yes.
Sure. Well, I feel like my life is sponsored by Dr. Squatch. But yeah. So yeah, it's like little lyrics like that. That's what connected me to Weezer right out of the gate. I'm like, these are guys that literally sing about underwear, and they have the Muppets in their music videos and like things like this. So I'm like, okay, this is a good choice to listen to these guys. And then yes, my favorite section of the song is the I can't work a job like any other slob, punching in and punching out, sucking up to Bob. And I forget who said it earlier. Forgive me for not knowing you guys as well as Aiden does. But was it Steven that said it earlier about marrying a biatch?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. And having 7 kids, because it's got a rhyme, right? There's this bit I do for anybody listening who doesn't know me, and for Aiden's friends here. Like, I do comedy along with all music related things that I enjoy. And there's this thing that I have always done in comedy where instead of saying like, oh, can I have a bag of chips? I'll be like, can I have a bag of chips? I'll just bend the word like chips. So when Rivers sings biatch and kields, I'm like, okay, again, that's way too personal for me. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? Copying me? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
He's stalking you.
Giving up, growing old, hoping there's a God. Yeah, that whole section, like, I personally, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to conform to the suburban family lifestyle and go, yeah, this is what everybody else does. Again, it's about conformity, right? And it just goes on to the chorus again, and it bears repeating. So like, it's just fun. I'm gonna be a star, and people will crane necks. That's an interesting lyric. What's crane necks mean, Aiden?
I think it's like they're gonna like turn and look back at him, like
Okay,
they're like they're going out of their way to continue watching him to see what he's gonna do.
yeah, to get a glimpse of me and see if I'm having sex. That just reminds me of my college days where I was like doing my thing, writing, being a comedian, and having fun with it. And I don't know, I found other people were like, oh, like Spencer doesn't open up a lot. I wonder what he does in his free time. And even the sex thing, people were like, oh, does he even like hook up with people? I'm like, why do you care? Like, why is that important to you? You know? It's just things people do that are so odd that you're just like, somebody write a song about this, and then boom, Weezer does. And I'm sorry, I'm going through literally every line here. Such a mystery anyone can see. There isn't anybody else exactly quite like me. I would hope all people would strive to apply that to themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, talk about individuality. That's also embedded in this song. But I think that's my biggest takeaway from this one is the individuality and the absolute willingness to not conform. That'd be my on the whole type comment on it.
Yeah. Like he seems to really have found his confidence, which is something that really shows in the other albums that he has no confidence and his whole identity is in like his loneliness and like girls not like things not working out with them. And I think it's a real vibe check from the other albums, like even Make Believe being very musically different than the previous albums. I think Red continues on a step further in being different, but not being different in the same way that Make Believe is. Because Make Believe still carries over many themes from their other albums, but this whole album seems to scream, well, it seems to scream that he thinks he's the greatest man that ever lived.
Solid.
So the greatest man that ever lived. Kind of just what I had written down is the stuff that we just said about it, about him having self-worth and it showing a lot. And I kind of view this song as Weezer's Bohemian Rhapsody. So it's like, what if Bohemian Rhapsody, I feel like I'm going to upset a lot of people here. What if Bohemian Rhapsody was actually good? I don't like Bohemian Rhapsody that much. I think it's way overrated. It is good, but you know, it's not Weezer. People are cringing at me right now. Like, really? You like Weezer more than Queen? Yes, I freaking love Weezer. And I will never apologize. And that is why I will never find love. But the only thing that I have to say overall about this song is that the interesting thing where he's just kind of talking while the bass is going later in the song, he's talking about Act 1 and Act 2. Initially, I always thought he was talking about Act 1 and Act 2 of the song, but it doesn't seem to coincide. I think he's actually talking about Act 1 being the early Weezer days, based on what he's saying, and Act 2 being Make Believe to present. I could be wrong about that, but that's kind of what I got actually like reading the lyrics and then kind of relating it to what he had said earlier in the song and then relating it to the other albums that we've analyzed thus far. Caleb, why don't we go with you next this time?
Alright, so when I first heard this song, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was very different. I like how the way how it is invented. Like, it just feels almost like a savage song where it's like, I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm just gonna do whatever the heck I want, basically. I love the piano at the beginning. Love the soft vocals on the bridge, suits it perfectly. And the snare part is a bit weird, but I have nothing against it. And then after the snare part, it goes into like this full-on auto-tune of Rivers singing, which I thought was really interesting to do in that song. Change it like that, and I actually really like how he did that. It sounds like he's saying, I'm the man you want. All the depression's gone, it seems like, and he's kind of full of himself now. And I like the last chorus and how great the drums are.
One extreme to the other, almost.
Exactly, because like he's depressed in most of the albums, then it's like it's a new fresh start, but now he's just like, I got a better life.
Steven?
Yeah, I don't like this song at all. I think it sucks, which is kind of ironic considering how he's talking himself up so much in the song, just calling himself the greatest man ever, and it's like, your song doesn't even sound good.
Oh gosh.
And the lyrics are really trashy too. There's a couple of things he mentioned specifically that I took note of. So we have a theory from, I think it's Maladroit, where Rivers might be into necrophilia.
I don't think we should follow that theory, but continue.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up again, but then I noticed he said, nobody wanted my action dead or alive, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like why would you say that? Exactly. I
have something to base your theory in another song, but we'll get to that.
I mean, it's something I noticed. I can't help but notice.
Okay.
And then another line where he says, bodies be all up on my behind, which is like, I feel like he sings about his behind quite a bit.
In Underwear.
In Hash Pipe, he says that something about people liking his behind. So I think he thinks that people really like his butt. So I don't know what's up with that. I've never seen his butt, so maybe there's something extraordinary about it, but I wouldn't know. Yeah, so I do not like that song, but it was interesting.
Well, I before we go to Spencer, I just want to say I feel like there's usually quite a lot of conflict between me and Steven in our opinions. I feel like there's going to be a massive conflict between Spencer and Steven on this. So let's try to keep it respectful. But you can
your opinion sucks.
You can tell Steven that his opinion is absolute trash, because it often is.
Hey, well, before you say anything, I'd just like to say that I do respect all opinions, and like, even if you think my opinion is trash,
only
that's okay. Opinion. I'll probably think that your opinion is trash, but whatever.
As long as we can all agree that the Green Album is their worst album.
Which we do not.
No, we don't.
Spencer?
I'm not sure what I would classify as their worst at this exact second.
All right, well, let's hear your thought on the greatest man that ever lived.
Well, first of all, it's probably a good thing I'm not in the room, because at least two of you would have gotten backhanded. So, first of all, Bohemian Rhapsody is probably the greatest song of all time.
I agree.
And then the jaws can hit the floor here, because this song is not only my favorite song off the album, not only my favorite Weezer song, this is my favorite song in the entire world. The reasons for that are plural. The music itself changes about, 6 or 7 times, maybe even more, right? And I've read this thing, and Aiden, I don't know if you've read this, or maybe this is in the liner notes, I have no idea, of how each section of this song is kind of paying tribute to another artist.
I didn't know that, no.
Okay, because I have this thing here where, and this is loose, this isn't what I wrote, this is on the internet. It's saying like certain sections of the song are supposed to be homages to Slipknot, Jeff Buckley, Aerosmith, Nirvana, Green Day, and Elvis Presley.
Not Queen.
And the one that I know for sure is like Elvis Presley. I'll get to that in a moment. So again, for your buddies there, Aiden, as well as anyone listening, I currently work in a record store, which is a dream job. I've wanted to do that since I was probably like 13 or 14. And that's obviously due to my love of all music, with the exception of a couple, but we won't get into that. There's crappy music out there, but Weezer's not in that bin. So let's go through the lyrics here, and let's kind of, if it's cool, I don't mean to take the reins from you, Aiden, but I'm interested in knowing what the group here thinks of different parts of the song lyrically. Okay. Because we had a couple moments there where we did kind of talk about that. Because I played this song for some Christian friends one time, and within the first couple of lyrics, they were like, "Do you not understand what he's saying?" And I was like, "What?" And they said, when he says, I'm like a mage with the magic spell. You come like a dog when I ring your bell. That's extremely sexual. And I was like, it is? It's not spelled C-U-M, it's spelled C-O-M-E. And they're like, yeah, but they're saying like it's hardcore sexual. And I'm like, that's not how I hear it. And that was my first instance where, with any kind of art, especially music, I like that it can be left up to the interpretation of any individual listener, you know, where if your mind goes to an overtly sexual place, that says a lot about you. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm like, I don't really know what I thought about that lyric. I just thought it was kind of like, when I call you to come spend time with me, you're instantly there, like in a heartbeat, because you want to be around me.
I have a
That's how I
question,
took that lyric.
if I may
You know
interrupt.
what I mean?
So the line before that, he says, "Soon I'll be playing in your underwear." So what do you make of
You're
that?
right. That's a good point.
I think that might be why people kind of, their minds go there.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I
Yeah.
just find the word underwear so funny too. So I guess I was so innocently listening to it, going like, "Oh, you said underwear. It's funny."
Yeah, like I never thought of it as being dirty until like more recently, and then reading through all the lyrics.
Yeah. Well, and of course he goes on. There is arrogance in the first section of the song. I totally pick up on that. Like, I got the money, I got the fame, you've got the hots to ride on my plane. So yeah, there is this cocky kind of douchey vibe to it, but I see the humor in that. I like, I'm the meanest in the place. Step up, I'll mess with your face. There's another lyric later that kind of reflects on that to me, where it's like if someone else is being a douche or whatever, it's kind of like you have the confidence to go like, dude, like chill, like don't start stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The lyric, I'm gonna tear down the wall, that's an important lyric to me because, brief story, if I may, uh, there's an album by Pink Floyd called The Wall, and I dove deep. I did like a hardcore study of that album. And if there's anybody out there who thinks like, oh, like when your parents say, what are you listening to? Like, are you really thinking about the messages here? And is that really good music for you to be spending time with and things like that? That's an accurate question. Like that's an important question for anybody to ask a loved one or even themselves, because when I spent so much time listening to Pink Floyd's The Wall, it made me depressed because that album's straight up about isolation and all that. So when Rivers sings, I'm going to tear down the wall, it reminds me of the decision I made to stop listening to that album and going like, okay, I got to put this away. It actually makes me feel extremely negative. And it was right at the same time when I found this album, and I was like, yeah, I got this album. It's new. It's fresh. I can put away the old. I don't mean to call it garbage. It's just really negative messaging, you know? So that stands out to me too. After the havoc, I'm going to wreak, no more words will critics have to speak. That kind of reminds me of my acting life, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to put on such a good performance that like anybody who's critiquing it is going to be like, whoa, like that was great. I can take on anybody. I can do my thing. I don't want to hurt nobody, but a bee has got to sting. First of all, I'm terrified of bees. It's like in my top 5 biggest fears, but I totally get what he means, where it's like, hey, if you're kind of pissing me off, you might get the stinger. Like, don't push my buttons because I'll come at you a little bit. That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I think that comes with confidence. He's literally saying, I don't want to hurt nobody, which is improper English, but I don't want to hurt anybody, but a bee has got to sting. I just think that's it's kind of a lesson in keeping your cool, but also standing up for yourself when you deserve the right to.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah, and the talk smack and I'm gonna shut you up. Same type of message. Here's where the message of the song really hits me in the heart. I go, I'm the greatest man that ever lived, which we've already heard him say before earlier in the song. Then he hits you with, I was born to give. And to me, as a Christian and as a music lover and all of the above, I kind of go, well, that kind of reminds me of Jesus in a way, where I'm like, okay, well, how am I living my life? I don't want to be arrogant, but I try to be the greatest man that ever lived. It's not like a proclamation of, oh, I totally am because I have materialistic things and girls like me and all that stuff. It's, to me, the song screams more, I want to show other people love, and that makes me a great man, not the literal greatest man that ever lived. So that's the important part of the song to me that really hits me emotionally in a way. And the next section there is the Elvis Presley section. So I'll draw a comparison because I don't even know if Aiden knows these lyrics. He'd probably say that Elvis isn't any good or something. But he's only the king of rock and roll. But, you know, let's see.
He was until he was dethroned by Rivers Cuomo.
Oh, I see.
But Elvis is good.
Yes. Grandma would be really pissed at you if you said something otherwise. The section where he says, somebody said all the world's a stage and each of us is a player. That's what I've been trying to tell you. That whole section. Are You Lonesome Tonight by Elvis Presley. In that song, he says, I wonder if you're lonesome tonight. You know, someone said the world's a stage and each of us must play a part. Fate had me playing in love with you as my sweetheart. Act 1 was where we met. I loved you at first glance. You read your lines so cleverly and never missed a cue. Then came Act 2. You seemed to change. You acted strange, and why I've never known. He literally hits the same points that Rivers does with the Act 1, the Act 2.
That's cool.
The world's a stage, and each of us is a player. And I think that comes from a poet or something. I'm totally lost on that. That's way too far back in history for my knowledge. But
wasn't that Shakespeare who said that originally?
Oh, it probably was. Yeah, that's an extremely good guess. I think you're correct.
Yeah, Shakespeare makes him happy.
It's probably his second
I'm pretty sure.
crush.
But yeah, that's kind of the. I know I've said it's my favorite song of all time, and I could say 100 more things about it. But the general, again, to kind of cap that off, my thoughts on that is just, it's almost like a "What would Jesus do" vibe for me, where I'm like, yeah, you know, I could kind of spoof my own ego and say I'm the greatest man that ever lived. But when you follow it with I was born to give and give and give, I literally try to live my life with that applied to, with that application to who I am, where I go, I have things that make me happy, but the biggest thing in life that does make me happy is making other people happy. So that's the T.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a cool way of looking at it.
I'd like to say that I really appreciate that you love all music, first of all.
Yes.
And because I like a lot of music, but not all music. But that's something that I really appreciate in people is when they have like a very wide appreciation for art. And especially hearing you talk about the song, as much as I didn't like the song and I saw all these negative things about it, I really like that you see all these positive things about it. And like you tie in like really good things from the song. Like even tying it into your faith as a Christian, like that's super cool. I never would have thought of that. And like in spite of other Christians that you've shown the song, like kind of like condemning it, whereas I can relate to that I tend to like a lot of things that my family or friends would be like, why on earth would you like that? And I'm the same way. I can see positive things in things that aren't necessarily like positive to other people or very Christian to other people. So yeah, I just think that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man.
I am that way as well. I find I will give music an opportunity and try to enjoy it. Usually if it's overplayed, I will not, but if it's something that someone will show me, then I will as well try to see the good into it. But instead of Weezer thinking he's the greatest man that ever lived, I think he needs to eat some pork and beans.
Oh, he does, though, as long as he eats candy with it.
Yeah.
But I will say, Pork and Beans is one of my all-time favorite Weezer songs. I love that it's an anthem for just being yourself and having self-confidence. And it's, again, Rivers has finally found this confidence, and he's really flaunting it. I like that in this one, it's more of a confidence than an arrogance. And you know what? It has a catchy chorus and beat, so we can sing along. That's all I have to say about it. Steven?
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite song on the album. It's very fun. It's uplifting. Like a few of the other songs are fun, but they're like more rebellious, like Troublemaker, Everybody Get Dangerous, like being a rebel and having fun, which is fun. But this song is more like, I'm just gonna do my own thing, and I'm happy with who I am. And like, if negative people are bringing me down, I do not care. Which is just awesome, and especially after previous albums where he's been so insecure and depressed and all these things, and now he's finally dandy with the me inside, as he says.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I like the humming too. Like at the beginning, I noticed in the verses there's background humming, which I don't know. Humming is just such a cool thing to have in music. It's so happy.
Weezer definitely likes underwear.
I'm thankful for mine.
Underwear is funny.
The guitar in the beginning, I like. Love this song. So relatable. I find. Love the lyrics. I definitely love when he says, "I'ma do the things that I want to do. I ain't got a thing to prove to you. I don't give a hoot about what you think." And that, for me, I find that's very relatable in certain situations. But I find those lyrics very relatable to me.
All right, Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, if there was going to be a runner-up for best song on the album, this is absolutely it. Like, so many people say to me, like, well, I thought you said Greatest Man That Ever Lived is your favorite song of all time. And I'm like, yeah, but Pork and Beans is like my life motto. Like, every single lyric in this, I'm like, yep, once again, they followed me around and went, let's write a song about that guy. I'm like, that's just how it feels, you know? The first part of the song, well, let alone the lyrics, just the way the guitar is played to me is comedic. Like just that boom, and then you have that like this weird sound. It's not traditional to any rock song, really. It actually sounds kind of Weird Al-ish in a way, where I could see where, once again, this is the song I'd say that is most similar to Weird Al's Skipper Dan. Would you say that, Aiden?
Oh, absolutely.
It probably is Weird Al doing the vocals.
Yeah, right. Perhaps, yeah, doing that little weird thing in the background. But the line that when I first heard this song, and this was the first song off the album that I had heard before going out and purchasing it. This is the song that made me want to buy the album. When he says, you'd hate for the kids to think that you've lost your cool. I sense like sarcasm in that lyric. You know what I mean? Where he's going, well, yeah, you'd hate for everyone to think that you're not cool. But it's like, no, but then go into the chorus, I'm going to do the things I want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ain't got a thing to prove to you. That's powerful. Again, it's funny and it's wacky, but it is powerful. The ironic thing is that I can't digest pork. And so it's the only part of the song I go, can't relate to that because I would literally have diarrhea if I consumed pork. Either that or I would like vomit profusely. But beans, I love beans, and I do like occasionally candy. And I like the excuse my manners if I make a scene. Like it's got this vibe to it that's like I kind of want to goof off because I'm supposed to be well behaved. You know what I mean? Again, it's a little bit of that non-conformity of like everybody else might be doing this prim and proper stuff, but I'd rather have fun, you know. And then there's the stuff like one look in the mirror and I'm tickled pink. I relate to that in a huge way because, again, as a comedian who specializes in impressions and stuff, I spend a lot of time looking in the mirror and I have to practice my impressions while looking in the mirror, and it's fun. So when it says one look in the mirror and I'm tickled pink, I'm like, boom, bam, it's another thing right out of my life. And the fact that he says hoot instead of damn or any other 4-letter really harsh swear word, like that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? He could say any swear word he wanted to there. The S word, the F word, whatever. He says, I don't give a hoot. And I'm just like, that's even more badass than swearing, you know? It's just cool.
He's unapologetically himself, and I love it.
Yeah.
He saves all his dams for Thought I Knew.
But that's not even him. We'll get there.
Well, it's still his song.
We'll get there.
True.
Is that it for Pork and Beans?
Oh, I love the Timberland knows the way to reach the top of the charts. Maybe if I work with him, I can perfect the art. Because this came out, I think, right around the time Shock Value by Timbaland came out, and it had that song The Way I Are. Do you guys know that one?
I'm not familiar now.
No.
And like that was a huge hit. And I remember being like, everyone would go crazy at like school dances and prom and stuff when that was played. And I was like, yeah, it's alright, but put on Pork and Beans by Weezer next. Like, you know, it's just like I much so preferred their vibe over anything popular and all that. And just chanting, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. It's just it's so comedically rebellious to me again. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This song is my anthem. That's all I gotta say.
Cool. So moving on to heart songs. You know, it's a really chill, vibey song. It's those smoothing vibes, those classic smoothing vibes we talk about here on WEEZCAST.
Yeah.
And you know, it's cool that it's cool that in addition to the paying tribute, like you said, in The Greatest Man That Ever Lived, because that I didn't realize. This one I did though. Like, it's cool that he's referencing all these different bands and songs and everything. The only musically noteworthy thing about it, other than like it's obviously good, is that I noticed this time around listening to the vinyl that there's a little bit of an 808 drum in it after like the chorus. Steven?
This song, I didn't really like it, because a lot of the songs, like, he's referencing all the songs that like mean the most to him, but most of them I don't know. So like, to me it's pretty meaningless, and then it's very slow. So to me it's just a very boring song. That's but like, if you do know the music that he's talking about, I feel like it would be like a more
You'd
fun
have more of an
song.
appreciation because you're getting the references.
Or it'd be nostalgic, like, oh yeah, like those songs, that's so cool. I know the songs that he knows, but like I don't. So it's like, oh well,
you young people.
I'll just skip that one.
So I didn't mind this song at all. I don't have anything against it. One thing that did stand out to me lyrically that I want to know if these have some kind of connection, and it kind of confuses me. So I'm hoping one of you guys will have an answer. But I'm not sure if they connect, but I'll see. So in Saying It So, you've heard that, right, Spencer?
Spencer?
Yep.
Have you heard Saying Ain't So?
Oh yeah, many times.
All right.
Yep.
So in Saying Ain't So, in the bridge he says, "You cleaned up, found Jesus," and then he also says this bottle of Stevens.
Yeah.
Which obviously is talking about alcohol. But in this song he says a cat named Stevens and found faith. So those are similar in ways. So I'm wondering, do you have an explanation?
I don't, but I feel like Spencer probably does.
Okay. Yeah.
I do. So Cat Stevens is a bit of a folk singer, a progressive folk singer from the 70s. So he's referencing Cat Stevens, and I forget the exact title of the song, but I know it's a song Cat Stevens did about his faith.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear the rest of your thoughts, Spencer.
So this song, again, is extremely important to me because this song inspired me to ask myself the question, if you had to make a list of the top 500 songs that influenced you or that mean the most to you, would you be able to do that? And the answer is undoubtedly yes, with songs to spare. Like, I had to put songs on a chopping block when I made this playlist where I was like, oh, I really want to keep that, but like this one's just a little bit more meaningful. And so I was just deeply inspired by that. The whole, these are the songs I keep singing and these are my heart songs. I was like, yeah, I really, as a gigantic music lover, I don't mean I'm overweight, I just mean I like music a lot. Yeah, I just really identified with picking and choosing songs and artists that you're like, yeah, if it wasn't for these songs, I wouldn't be who I am. And there's one thing in this song that I hate to say, but Weezer got this incorrect.
Oh.
So let's tear this apart for just a second. When he says, sometimes I would listen to the radio, Debbie Gibson telling me that you think we're all alone. I think he's referencing the song I Think We're Alone Now, which is not by Debbie Gibson, it's by Tiffany. Which I know all of you are sitting there shrugging like, Okay. But,
I do know that
again,
song, but
oh, yeah.
I didn't know that that was a reference to that song because I'd never heard of Debbie Gibson.
Yeah, Debbie Gibson was popular at the same time that Tiffany was, and I think maybe it's just one of those, what do you call that, Mandela effect type thing, where during the writing process he probably thought, oh yeah, that was definitely Debbie Gibson that sang I Think We're
Oh,
Alone Now. But it was an artist called Tiffany. It also, I've actually teared up to this song before because the fact that when he says, got together with my bros in some rehearsal studios, then we played our first rock show and watched the fan base start to grow, signed the deal that gave the dough to make a record of our own. The song comes on the radio and now people go, this is the song. And that hits me so hard. Almost, it's probably the hardest hit to my heart in the whole album, on the whole album, because again, without that song, Heart Songs, I wouldn't have had the inspiration to go, what songs do I really identify with the most? Without this song, there would be no eclectic list of songs on my phone that I like love with all my heart.
Everybody Get Dangerous. It's a really fun song. I really like the bass in it, especially in the verses and the DJ scratches and stuff. Like, it's got a fun vibe to it, and I love the harmonizing haze later on in it. And I think that it's a song that probably a lot of people can relate to in doing crazy stuff in their youth. For me, it's more like my young adult life. I kind of did more crazy stuff like that. That's like, oh wow, that's pretty wild. And it's kind of cool listening about how we should have died a long time ago. But there must be a guardian angel or whatever. It's kind of, I don't know. I feel like I have an appreciation for it, but I almost wish I could relate to it more.
That's interesting.
Steven?
Yeah, I really like this song because it's really fun, and again, it's rebellious. But it's not so much rebellious as it is about like it's not really rebelling against authority as it is rebelling against like rules that they know are there to keep them safe. And so in a way they're rebelling against their own safety and just risking their lives to have fun. So the song sounds like just like it's an all-time classic. Like, it just has that sound to it that's like, this song's, it feels like it's always been here and it's always gonna be here. Like, it can't die. Which I feel like not very many songs have that feel to them. So I like that about this song. And the part where they sing "Hey" in the middle of it, like Aiden mentioned, I actually don't like that part. I feel like the vocalizing kind of sucks. But that's the only thing that I don't like about the song.
Okay.
And at the end, there's like drums that sound like jungle drums. Like, it sounds like you're playing Donkey Kong or something. And I really like that. It feels like it's a very like primitive and wild feeling, which matches with the song really nicely. It's a good way to end it.
Caleb?
Okay, so this one's interesting. Like, I like the song, but lyrically, it kind of backs up Stevens in a way, if you know what I mean.
Stevens the cat?
No, Steven as...
The Steven who owns the bottle, or?
No, as your theory. Your theory.
Oh, which theory? I have many theories.
Your,
Necrophilia?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
What?
Hold on, I have to pull it up. He says something about licking the knives of roadkills or something.
Oh yeah, that's kind of serial killer vibe there.
Yeah, I don't think that's meant to be sexual.
No. I wasn't thinking it was sexual at all.
Oh.
But that just proves that he likes dead stuff. That's all.
Okay.
It's not exactly as what you're thinking.
Oh,
but
he does say stab the corpses.
yeah.
Okay.
But he says something about roadkill as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, when he says stab the corpses,
I think he's talking about the roadkill when he says that. But Spencer?
It's debatable.
Oh, everybody else is already finished?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I guess my brain's got like a giant drawer full of things to say, and then I'm surprised. Sorry. Yeah, I was just skimming to that part of the song, actually. Yeah, about the roadkill. Drive around with hairspray and sharp knives, looking for roadkill, lighting things on fire for cheap thrills. yeah, stab the corpses and lick the knives like we're evil forces. I feel like that might be a reference to a movie or something, but it's not super, super clear.
It sounds like Mad
Um,
Max, kind of.
I don't think Mad Max was out then.
It came
Yeah,
out
I'm
in
not
the 80s.
sure.
80s.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the
Yeah.
original.
This song, I am surprised that this song wasn't the one they used in Jackass 3, because the song Memories was used in Jackass 3D, and it's cool. It's relevant to the lineage of the Jackass guys. But this song would have fit so much better. Like, it's literally about being dangerous, like threatening your
Yeah.
own life in a way. It reminds me of my high school days. There was a lot of guys in my high school class, or whatever you want to say, my high school years, that, yeah, they did a lot of the things that are kind of mentioned in the song, whether that was like, yeah, arson or like graffiti, defacing public property. And as a good, Christian boy, I was like, guys, like, what are you doing? Like, I was totally the nerd about it, going like, we can't do this. Like, this is inappropriate. And what's the part about the kids getting swords?
Oh, like when
Ninja swords.
they have their own kids, and then they're like, "Hey, we got these new ninja swords. Is it okay if we go tear up this place?"
And get dangerous.
What an interesting part to the song, where he's kind of going, am I going to be hypocritical in the future? Or something,
Yeah.
like double standard type thing, where it's like, but Dad, like, you did this when you were young. Another reason I don't want to have kids, so that I don't have to be a hypocrite. But what an interesting section of the song. You know what I mean? It almost feels out of place in a small way, but
Yeah, I agree.
plus it's cool that he says there must be a guardian angel or some kind of destiny we have, which, I don't know, I kind of feel a slight like prelude to the angels that are mentioned later in this album a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like the angel and the one and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if that's supposed to be a little nod to it, but I have no idea. But anyways, this song to me, yeah, is kind of a triumphant, like, yeah, I can make it through anything, even if I get smoked in the face by a basketball net. Yeah.
Fair enough.